Oh, look at, we have a fan base already. I love it.
Yeah. I love the chur to start off. My name is Owen Choi. I'm a CFO of Hand Hospitality Group. A quick intro on Hand is we're a New York City-based hospitality group that owns about 30 different restaurants. So all restaurants are different, starting from a very casual, tofu-based soup brand, all the way up to Michelin two-star restaurants. So we have a very wide portfolio, and we're currently expanding into Los Angeles. So if anyone is in either New York or LA, I highly recommend trying our product. And outside of Hand, I'm also an investor at Listen Ventures, investing in early stage consumer businesses. Enough of myself. I'd like to introduce our wonderful panels. I think we can start with Laura.
Hi, I'm Lauren Fernandez. I am an investor in early stage food and restaurant companies. I am also an attorney and a former restaurant operator myself. I am the CEO of Full Course, a firm I started 7 years ago that does early stage investment, both through funds, direct investment, co-investment, and joint ventures, with a specialty on accelerating growth. So we focus on things like licensing, franchising, product development, and commercialization.
Frank Krasovec. I actually live in Austin, Texas, about 15 minutes from here. Been here about 50 years in Austin. Started my career in corporate America and then partnered with some entrepreneurs, and have been in about 6 different industries, from media, cable TV in the infancy, to what is going on now. Currently, I'm chairman of Domino's Pizza China. We open about 1 store a day. We have about 1,500 stores, and we're still very small. We think we're big, but KFC has 12,000 stores, and they're adding 1,000 a year.
My name is Summer Lee. I'm founder of Yumi Tea. Right now we are a boba tea company, and right now we have 30 locations and 10 more under construction. So we are mainly based in California. So if you guys come to California, welcome to our Yumi Tea.
Yeah, so as we just learned, we have a panel that has experience in founding a brand, investing in one, and advising. So we have a very wide representation in terms of our experience. And with that, I'd like to maybe start off with the theme of culture and the role in restaurant businesses. So for example, Hand Hospitality, we're selling culture as a product, right? But I think restaurants have a unique relationship with culture, whether that is internal or external. So we'd love to dive deep about how we all think about the role of culture in restaurant businesses. Maybe we can start off with Lauren.
I'll start out with this general statement, which is restaurants are a people business. We just sell food as our product, right? And so when you are talking about culture and you look at the generational shift from millennials down, so Gen Z and Alpha, culture is a leading indicator for customer appreciation because it comes from the service in the restaurant. And that is what keeps your Alpha and Gen Z and millennial employees there in the restaurant. So where there has been a massive shift in the last decade as we've replaced a huge workforce in the restaurant industry post-COVID is a massive shift towards what the brand stands for, and that purpose and mission has to flow through everything that you do all the way down to the customer, and a lot of that is in training. And a lot of that training is now being powered by AI, which is, I think, a really interesting innovation.
So culture, I'll give you an example where it didn't work, not in the restaurant business, BlackBerry. Okay, we used to all have BlackBerries. No one carries one anymore. In the restaurant business, if you look at Domino's and McDonald's, 2 companies with one brand, in my opinion, they have the strongest culture. Restaurant Brands owns Burger King, Popeyes, and 5 other brands. Yum owns KFC, Pizza Hut. One of the things you learn in cultures is it's hard to share cultures when the leader says, well, KFC is better than Pizza Hut, so I'm going to put more resources over there. And so you have to be careful. Domino's is focused. To get a Domino's franchise, I couldn't, even though I'm involved in China, because I'm not part of their system. So they want people in the system who understand the product, where they can plug them in, and they're part of the culture. So it starts at the top. What you have to do is make sure it stays at the top and doesn't get diluted.
Yeah, so I can talk about like external, the cultural, like our customers in Yumi. So everything, the store vibe and the menu and the products, we want to show our customer our culture. So our customers they will have like emotional connection with us. So this also help us differentiate with other brand. And I see like. For example, I see a lot of like social, our customer post, they have like a very special moment. They celebrate in Yumi, and also when they are work hard for the whole day, they come to Yumi, have a drink, like rewards them. So I think this one is like Yumi should just show them the culture, so they can like have like a special connection with us.
Yeah, thanks for all the answers. And I think we can all think about how culture permeates through the organization outwards to the consumers that we face as a restaurant business. And related to that, I'd like to maybe ask a question about culture as a product representing a cuisine. So when you're introducing a foreign cuisine or concept, for example, introducing boba tea into United States, in California, in Austin. How do you find the balance between authenticity and localization for mass adoption?
So for the boba tea, we will focus on the cultural. So we will still do the milk and the tea, but we will use different use a different language to let our local customer understand. Such as like we have one product, we use like boba tea as a coffee inside. So our local customer can understand that, yeah.
I'll give the reverse, because in China, 85% of our products are custom localized. Egg and potato and bacon pizza, stuffed cheese pizza, eel, crawfish, it's a total durian fruit, stinky sock smell. It's southern China, they love it. Northern China, they hate it. So you want to localize your product. East Coast, West Coast, Texas, Florida, their tastes that are different. Make sure that you identify that when you develop your brands.
It's actually very similar to something. So I'm the former general counsel of Focus Brands, which you would know as Rourke Capital's Fund One, which is now called Go-To. One of their brands that was under our stewardship was Cinnabon. Cinnabon's international development was a very cookie cutter plan. You show up with the bon and you figure out what the local topping should be. Kind of same as the pizza, right? So you're localizing to culture. So for example, there was a mango cinnamon chutney Cinnabon that only existed in Brazil because that was a flavor profile from Brazil. So we developed menus that allowed the core product to exist with localization. I will also give a kind of nightmare story, just as a sort of different perspective. As an investor, I do prefer bringing cultural brands into the United States, and that's something that we are expert in. And one thing that we figured out very early on is that you would be tempted to think about bringing a brand to the United States as a moment of education, where you have to teach the community and the local, customer about that culture. And you can think that that's a really beautiful thing, but I'm going to give you a very harsh truth. You think that it's a spectrum with Americanization on one end and full authenticity on the other, and that you could probably land somewhere in the middle. But what I will tell you from experience is you have to kind of pick one or the other. You are either authentic to someone who knows that cuisine and culture and who can appreciate your representation of the culture verbatim, or you are over here where you are fully Americanizing it. And so there are many examples of how this plays out in real time. But the easiest one I think we can all wrap our heads around is Mexican food, right? If you have been to Mexico, you know that there are like 10 different, easily regional types of cuisine. Oaxaca is one of them that is more widely known. But if you go eat Mexican food anywhere in the United States, I will lovingly call it, as a Latina, very whitewashed, right? Refried beans are everywhere. The tacos are what they are, and I'm not knocking it. It is what it is, but I think we can all understand that's a very Americanized version of Mexican food. It is not actually representative of the culture. It is influenced by that culture. So maybe don't think about it as a spectrum, but an either or, and at least until the cultural awareness is there in the United States.
Yeah, I like Lauren's framework on choosing either or, because Hand is definitely a brand where we're choosing not to localize and trying to introduce the different aspects of Korean food. But I think what we should be aware is the market that we're playing. So we're based in New York City. It's the most global, most diverse, most curious consumers in the world. And everyone's a foodie, basically. So if you have the benefit of that audience and market, I think our approach would make sense. But to Lauren's point, I think if we're thinking about the general audience of the United States, probably it's safer to localize to a degree, and similar to how Frank did it in Domino's in China, maybe it has to be 85% customized to the local palate, and that's how you win the market. Maybe a final point about culture and just like the restaurant business in general. If you were to start a new business now at this very moment, where do you see the most opportunity in the restaurant business space?
Yeah, I'll disclose this. We're actually we invest in technology, services, and the actual core food and restaurant businesses themselves. We're fairly agnostic in any good deal. And what I'm on the hunt for right now is a solve for restaurant turnover, which, as I mentioned earlier, is largely driven by culture. So 2/3 of the restaurant industry in the United States is literally run by 16 to 24-year-olds. Just think about that for a second. The way that they think about work and belonging and inclusion is completely different than the people who are making these decisions, like myself at the top, right? And so I think that there's an opportunity there to marry AI with coaching, training, that's maybe in the native language, that also can be generationally adapted to help reduce turnover with other really cool things like retention benefits. Like work 10 days in a row without calling out, or a no call, no show, and you get a $50 Netflix card, or any benefit you want to choose. It could be a gym membership or whatever, but it's a credit towards a flex benefit platform. Because I'll tell you, an 18-year-old, like my own teenager, don't care about 401k matching. They want to pay for their Hollister bag or whatever she's into these days. So I think we need to be more innovative about how we relate to our employees. They are the fuel of this industry. It is a service and people-based industry, and we are woefully deficient in technology to do that. Don't get me on that soapbox. Over to you, Frank.
I have a couple friends who are very seasoned in the restaurant business in the U.S., and they looked around, they wanted to develop their own concept, and they formed a company that makes great burgers in the Northeast. And so when they look around, and I have some friends who helped me when I was doing my underwriting in China, they've made most of their money in the burger business and the chicken business in the U.S. So I'm not so sure I know the new names, new categories, but the ones that consistently make money are chicken and burgers.
And pizza.
And pizza.
And pizza. You know pizza.
I know pizza. I'm trying to keep that people out of that business.
All right. Okay, so I think that is a good segue into the next topic, which is AI. Lauren sort of alluded to some of the AI opportunities that she is seeing. First of all, we'd like to learn how the companies that you're representing, working for, Own, is implementing AI on a day-to-day basis, and what you're seeing in the broader industry.
So let me set this up a little bit, because one of the things that's most shocking to me about coming into the restaurant industry, 15 years ago from big pharma and CPG, was how we are so behind on technology. It was only about 10 years ago that we moved to a point of sale system that was cloud-based on an iPad. Before that, you had a satellite. Remember the satellites on the top of the building, and you had to like beam the credit card sales up? Oh my God. So we're way behind. And what I will say is in the last few years, especially because of COVID, there was a rush of money into tech on delivery. No comment there, but I think it has sort of sorted itself out and consolidated in certain markets. I think that there's massive opportunities around the human capital piece, around training and development. I also think that we do not understand what I would call basic business analytics. If you walk up to a founder and they cannot spit back their food costs, their labor costs, and their profit margin to you, we're done. Like, that's the end of the conversation. And what makes me sad about that is those are the levers that you need to pull to be profitable right now that are under the most compression are labor costs and food costs, and now we have an artificial price ceiling because of inflation. You put all that in a shaker and you mix it up, and you figure that 85% of the restaurants in the US are in the hands of an independent owner, and probably that's 3 units or less. The average Joe doesn't know how to fix the profitability of their business, so there's a huge tech opportunity for business analytics. And I mean, what the loaded prime costs are to get to profit margin, to price the product, or however we're gonna do that. So I'm game, by the way, if anyone ever wants to talk about this stuff. I'm very passionate about it, but we don't have enough tech investment in the restaurant industry backed by people who actually understand operations.
So I'll give a couple examples. It may be a little different answer. There's a gentleman here in Austin, Jeff Woods, wrote the book 2 years ago, AI-Driven Leadership, just 2 years ago. And it was like he was the novice in the business. Everything's accelerated dramatically, obviously, since then. Opening chapter in his book is about Blockbuster having a chance to buy this little bitty company about 9 years ago called Netflix for $50 million. And they said, no, nobody will do that. They didn't use AI. They didn't understand the consumer. So here you got Netflix, which is now the largest in the industry in that regard. In China, I introduced Jeff Woods to our Chinese people, and they listened to him, and they called me back and said, thank you, Frank. We've been doing this for the last 4 years. So, and they gave me examples. I thought, well, where have I been, But a couple different examples. When I checked into a hotel in Chengdu, China, they didn't speak English. Well, the desk person handed me the phone. I spoke in, told him my name, came back, asked for my credit card, my passport. We never spoke a word. Simple. This has been going on for forever. We hire 500 people a month. You cannot hire them without using AI, efficiencies. We only interview them once, so it takes time for them to go through the process, all set up by AI. Just a couple examples.
Yeah, I think as an engineer background, we're trying to use AI to solve our problem, especially our backstage. For the food and beverage, I think reaction efficiency is very important. Like right now, we can create our dashboard use AI, so every day we can see our labor cost, so just food cost and everything. If anything wrong, we can like reaction the second day. So this help us to have a high efficiency EBITDA. And also we create our own dashboard. We can collect all the reviews from our customers just like in 1 minute. And I can get all the feedback so we can do some reaction. And also our financial, everything, all our backstage, we're trying to now use AI to help us solve the problem. So even we are now 30 stores, we just have, for our group, we just have 9 people right now. So but for the front, from the storefront, like customer service and everything, we are not using AI. Just give us our customer like emotional connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see how AI is being used in the restaurant space because, in our hospitality group, it's a little bit sad to admit, but there's not much AI applications in our stores, and I see a lot of use cases potentially, but I feel like the opportunity is there, but there hasn't been either a product that is built or that has been efficient enough for, you know, the old school restaurant people to go and adopt. So
I'll give you an example. So I was in Xiamen, China last November, and we went through a couple stores, and our head of operations came up to me and he showed me, opened his computer, he had every process in the store measuring at that time. He had it all connected to AI. They knew who was ahead, who was behind, no secrets anymore. So it's there. It's simply a question of employing it. One other simple example, we're a delivery brand. Anybody can deliver. But how do you deliver on time with a warm product? You don't outsource it. So we control all of our delivery. Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, 4 biggest cities. Average delivery time is 20 minutes for a warm product, 90%. Can't do that without AI.
Yeah, so just to highlight a major theme here, an operator built that in his company. An engineer who's an operator built those solutions. You picking up what I'm putting down here? The problem is that when you work in a restaurant, there is no substitute for me as an investor having a pair of non-slip clogs and knowing when to put a hairnet on and what health and safety look like in a restaurant. That's operator language. So I can stand in a kitchen as an investor and watch what's going on and immediately spot bottlenecks where we can manufacture things, where we can deploy tech, where we have too many bodies, we got to fix the labor schedule with AI. And those problems may exist in your restaurants, but you have to have the marriage of operator and sophisticated technology and investor dollars. And that Venn diagram has been like bubbles floating in the air. Like those three things have not come together to my satisfaction in this industry, which is so sad because it's a $1.5 trillion industry that is constantly up and to the right year over year. So investors in this space look at it as actually very stable if you know where to put your money. And I think that this is just rife for disruption. Like bring it on, because there are operators who want these solutions. It's just a question of putting those three things together.
yeah, 100% agree with you. And maybe one solution is Frank visiting Domino Pizza in China for us to learn all the tricks you have. Yeah, so maybe moving on to the next question. We talked about a lot of AI implementation, but one thing that we haven't touched upon is physical AI and robotics. I'm curious to sort of learn what you're seeing in the industry, how the implementation is going, whether you view it as being successful or not. I'm curious to learn your thoughts, Lauren.
Oh yeah, I got thoughts. Okay, so if you have, let me paint a picture for you of a recent restaurant show that I was at. This is where vendors sell millions of dollars worth of product to all of the major restaurant chains and the independents in the industry. There's a national, like an NRA, National Restaurant Association show every year in Chicago. And when you go to the automation section, it's like a $500,000 fry arm like robot that looks like it came out of a NASA lab, and you're like, how are we fitting this in a kitchen? Has anyone figured out how to service this thing when fry oil gets all up in the gears? And the people who know kind of look at that stuff and giggle. We giggle, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm saddened again because I think that we're seeing technology applied to, from like, investors sit over here and they pump money into the tech, and then they're like, oh, we need a bigger TAM, we need a bigger total addressable market. Where can we put this robot that serves things? And they go, I know, the restaurant industry. And then they try to like pigeonhole it into our industry. And so it's the tail wagging the dog instead of the dog barking loud enough to get the treat that he really needs. You know what I'm saying? So I am not a fan. And please check me, I know there are differing opinions on this. I really have strong opinions about the physical nature of robotic tech in restaurants. The wear and tear on equipment is crazy. So you're constantly burning through CapEx, just keeping equipment current. And I do think there's some room for automation, don't get me wrong. I've seen some great stuff for pizza making, actually. And walking, and like the turn walks are pretty cool. But I kind of go like this and I do the math on the CapEx and the upkeep and it doesn't return. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Where I think the money should be is in the tech, the soft tech, right? The SaaS, like the things that we need to actually make restaurants more profitable again. Just get off that soapbox.
You want to go? All right, so we own our commissaries, okay? They make the doughs, have all the condiments, and then we deliver to our stores. In the U.S., Domino's owns all the commissaries. The franchisees don't have any interest in those. We own all of our stores in China, so we own them, so it's we have to make sure our margins are good because it's our own products and processes. The commissaries can have robotic operations, making the doughs, moving the pallets around, getting everything set for delivery. But in the stores, it's still a people business. Domino's started a model about 12 years ago called the like a theater concept store. People, kids in particular, want to watch pizza being made. They come up to the window. It used to be they were in the back alley. Now it's all of a sudden it's a marketing tool. You can have robotics, but I think it's a ways off. The robotics may come with delivery with drones.
Oh, yeah.
For our boba tea, it's like we first trying use the robotic arm, but we testing like maximum is like one day we can just make hundreds drink. It's not very efficiency, but right now we use like human plus AI physical. It's working very well. So we have our employee there, but we have automatic boba tea machine. So like they can just use the label, scan the QR code, and all the interior will come out. So our employee what need to do is just add the ice and shake it. So make our training easy. Because our menu we have like almost like 30 drink and 30 SOP. So this is hard for our employee to remember everything. So now they don't need remember. They can start making the boba tea at the first day when they come to work. So this help us save a lot of time about training and also the consistent. Yeah, so this one is help us. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. May I? I want to double click on something that Frank brought up about centralized production. One of my tricks of the trade, having come from a manufacturing and distribution background, is to spot the inefficiency in a recipe or a kitchen where any piece of that can be pre-manufactured. Obvious examples would be batching and manufacturing and automating things like sauces, spice blends, dry mixes, marinated proteins. When you can execute that at scale, you typically drop food costs anywhere from 5 to 6%. And if you are in a franchise system, those proprietary products push through the franchise system as a required purchase with a surcharge on them that can, in certain circumstances, essentially reduce the larger cost of manufacture, and then you can take that batch product that you're manufacturing and spin it into wholesale, you can spin it into retail, you can sell it in the units direct to consumer. So there's a lot of opportunity around machining and automating, but more in a centralized function. Not a fan of the fry arm.
Interesting. So don't go to a restaurant with a fry arm, basically, right? All right. So it sort of piggybacks on this idea, but in a restaurant business, what is like too much AI? We talk about AI as a tool for efficiency, but restaurant is, as we talked about, it's a business about culture. So when does AI go in the way of being a cultural business?
All right, so recent hullabaloo, I don't know if you guys saw this in the news, it was over a year ago, but Wendy's used an AI-backed software to dynamically price their menus. And they rolled a test out, and within 24 hours, a established journalist picked it up, called it Uber surge pricing, and eviscerated the program in Wendy's. What they did was not wrong. It's used across many industries. The mistake they made was telling people what they were doing, right? Okay, so in the advent of digital menus, this is coming, folks. No more you go into a restaurant and the paper menu is whited out or scratched through, or there's a piece of tape over it with a new price. The industry will catch up and get there as soon as we have better inventory and labor modeling to get to profit margin plus like pricing. However, we're not there yet. I think there's been some other notable fails. One of them was a multi-million-dollar investment by McDonald's, not to call them out. I appreciate the innovation, but they tried to use AI to do their menu ordering. And there are some pretty hilarious clips of that on the internet. If you feel like you want to be salty and go Google that, it's good stuff. I think that we're just not there in substituting now. What's interesting is generationally, some folks love a kiosk. If you are under 30, statistically, you are more likely to want to order off a kiosk than talk to a person. But the people who want to talk to a person do not appreciate AI being that person.
China's leaped over all of that because they didn't have the sophisticated people systems in place. If you go into the quick service restaurants, it's you either have ordered online already and the product is there for delivery. They haven't taken cash for 5 or 6 years. Cash. Everything is scanned on your phone, WeChat, or whatever the software is. So they are trained to basically go to a kiosk or do it on their phone to order. You can change pricing. You do it, have the pricing just like hotels, supply and demand. But you have to be very careful. Again, the customer's not dumb, right? The customer knows, like when you go to rent a car over there, if you're going to the mountains and it's snowing and lots of snow, they'll charge you whatever they want to charge you. And so you have to be careful. It's still the customer you're dealing with. It's a tool of information. That's all it is. It helps you in operations, marketing, finance, whatever, but it's still just a tool. It shouldn't replace brains or relationships.
Well said.
Yeah, I think the same thing. So right now we use AI do some like repeat work and also like data heavy works. Like we have our membership like already almost 1 million. So we use that one to do our customer segments. So different customer depends on the behavior. We may maybe send them different coupon like that.
All right. I think we are wrapped in terms of our panel questions, but we'd like to maybe open up to the audience for 1 or 2 questions. Yes, please.
There are so many providers, and it's some home, but it's pretty much outside because they develop it so quickly. What you want to do inside is simply have people who understand it so they can look across platforms and use what's best.
Summer, do you have
Oh, my co-founder all engineers, so they can do them.
That's convenient. Any last questions from the audience? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for the wonderful panel. Please give them a warm round of applause.